This is Sheriff Spotlight with the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office, highlighting the office and deputies dedicated to providing law enforcement services and maintaining the trust and support of Rockingham County citizens, all while keeping neighborhoods and communities safe.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for Sheriff Spotlight, our March of 2024 edition. I'm Lieutenant Kevin Souther, Public Information Officer for the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office, and in the studio with me today is Sheriff Sam Page. Sheriff, good morning.
Glad to be back.
Now, we have had a busy week. We'll start it off with talking about Read Across America. We've read at several of the different elementary schools across Rockingham County.
Fox and Socks.
Fox and Socks.
Green eggs and ham.
Right. So...
My name is Sam, and Sam I am.
Right.
we have rolled, but it's been fun. We started off last week, and I know there are other agencies and ourselves. We're going out to elementary schools all over Rockingham County and doing Read Across America. Primarily, we're reading from Dr. Seuss's books, and I can tell you, Kevin, because you're a little bit younger than me, but when I was in school, Dr. Seuss, and those were the books, and I used to like to read them then, and you know what? I like to read them now. Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and the kids have been a lot of fun, as they always are. You know, the kindergartners.
I'd like to meet Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
How he came up with those tongue twisters.
It is amazing, isn't it? All right. Recently, you came back from the winter conference of the National Sheriff's Association in Washington, D.C. How did that go?
Well, in February, I attended the National Sheriff's Association Board of Security Committee meeting in D.C. as part of the winter conference for the National Sheriffs. And I've been on that committee for about 13 years. And of course, the key conversation is Board of Security, Board of Security, Board of Security. And that has been the biggest problem in our Congress and with the current administration is they don't seem to get it. It's not about funding the movement of people. It's about securing our borders. And so anyway, so we met. We looked at House Bill 2, which was one of the strongest immigration bills and border enforcement bills. That's out there. However, there was a movement recently in the Senate to interject what's called the Langford bill, which is a Senate bill, which, in opinion of experts in the area of immigration enforcement and border security, it's not there. H.R. 2 was so much better of a bill that really was about border security, protecting America and the American people. So, that's still a discussion going on. There's discussions about funding in Israel, funding in Ukraine, and also our own border security. And I've always said this, and I mean this, is Homeland Security begins at home, and border security begins at home. And we've got to secure our borders,
Exactly.
America, to protect the American people.
Exactly.
And the thing is, if we do that, it helps to make our communities in North Carolina and across the state safer, and across the country safer.
And 90% of all the drugs that are coming into America are coming across that border.
Reported coming through our southern border, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And so not only do you deal with the issues of drug issues and the fentanyl, which is, last year I think nearly 100,000 people lost their lives due to overdoses. 80% of those, I understand, were due to fentanyl poisoning. And the tremendous loss of lives, but also the potential for undetected persons coming in that could be terrorists or have other issues that are not conducive to supporting the American way of life and standing up for us. When you've got persons that are coming in and you don't know who they are, you don't know what their intent is. And that, from a public safety perspective, and as a sheriff, it concerns me about not knowing who is coming into our country and the potential for another 9/11.
Right, exactly.
Or worse.
It's just, unfortunately, the times that we live in, that's something that we have to think about.
So, yeah, our safety is very important. I will say this, is the best thing that our everyday citizen can do is make sure that if you see something that doesn't look right, if you see something, say something. It was just in February, I think I was up in I was up in Washington for a meeting with some of our senators, and the day before we met with the senators, there was a gentleman with an AR-15, a guy with an AR-15 weapons system, sitting on a park bench 1 block from the Capitol. And he was taken into custody about 15 minutes before we got up there, myself and another sheriff. And, thank goodness he was detected, because somebody saw something and somebody said something, and that probably saved, I would say it saved lives, because you don't know what a person's intent was. But when you're in those situations and you're armed with an AR-15 rifle in a public place like that, probably you're not up to any good,
right?
Without any question. So again, I think whoever that was that notified law enforcement, 911, said, "Hey, there's a guy over here with a rifle near the Capitol," and they responded and took care of it.
Now, you mentioned fentanyl as one of the problems that we're facing here, and that not only is just a border problem, but it stretches all across America. Talk about some of the stuff that we're doing here locally to combat the fentanyl crisis.
Well, last year, probably, I don't know, it was probably about 2 months, 2.5 months before school was to get out, I attended a town hall meeting on fentanyl awareness in Northern Guilford. I was there with one of our school board members, and I was invited to Mr. Butler, Philip Butler invited me to come, and I went, and I said, you know what? We can provide that same knowledge to our citizens and our kids, in our own county. And so you and I came together, put together an idea. We approached the school superintendent, and currently we've had 2 of our high schools. We've already done the fentanyl presentation, fentanyl awareness, and I think we've got 2 more high schools to go. And what I'd like to see is be the ability to go to the middle schools next year, and any other schools, and of course the charter schools. And we did already do a program for the early college at RCC. Yeah. So all we're trying to do is educate the kids about the risk and dangers of any substance, because in this day and time, fentanyl can come in powder, liquid, or pill form, and any form and any type of fentanyl coming in, it only takes 2 milligrams to take your life. So 1 pill can kill campaign, with the DEA, we talk about that. We show a video about the impact on families, 3 or 4 families that were affected by fentanyl poisoning to one of their dear relatives or family members. And then we talk about what the substance is through a PowerPoint. And then sometimes we have some of the Fentanyl Victims Network. We'll have someone that lost a family member due to fentanyl poisoning, and we let them tell their story. They hold their picture, and they say, this is my relative, and this is what happened. Because we want our kids at the middle school, high school, college level, and parents to understand we lose more people age 18 to 45 due to fentanyl poisoning in America.
Than anything else.
Matter of fact, my understanding, in North Carolina last year, we had more people that died due to fentanyl poisoning and overdoses with the opioids than we did with gun violence. So more people are losing their lives due to drug overdoses, particularly with fentanyl, than gun violence.
Right, and
so that's pretty significant.
One of the things that we bring out during our conversation with students is that 6 out of 10 counterfeit pills that are being flooded into the streets now contain a deadly dose of fentanyl.
They say according to the DEA, about 6 out of 10 pills that come through from the southern border with Mexico into the United States are laced with fentanyl. And remember, it can come in powder, pill, or liquid form. So if a kid acquires a vape and doesn't know where it comes from, they could have it introduced into that liquid in that vape, which can also take your life. So we want to make our kids, we want to give them a chance before they go down the path and try something one time, experimenting, and it takes their life. Because it only takes one time.
Right, and we want them to know how serious it is as well, because
it can happen to you.
If they tried it and are lucky enough, if they get a dosage that have fentanyl in it and are lucky enough that it doesn't kill them, then they're instantly addicted. So they're going to want more. It's a synthetic opioid, but it's very strong, very addictive. But that's if you survive. If you survive.
Because it takes so little amount of fentanyl to kill you. So it's very serious, but we thought it was serious enough to bring this information out to our citizens, particularly our kids, and school-age kids, to let them know, we're continuing running our great program, gang resistance education training, which talks about anti-drug message. We still have the DARE programs across the county with other law enforcement agencies teaching those at the elementary school level. But our kids are very, very valuable and very precious, and we want to make sure that we protect them because they are the future of our country, our state.
All right, switching gears for a minute. We've talked about this before, but it's been a while, and one of the questions that I still frequently get asked at the groups that I speak at is, what is the difference between the sheriff's office and other law enforcement officers? What's the difference between a sheriff and a police officer, so to speak?
Well, the biggest difference is a sheriff is elected by the people. Our voters have the opportunity countywide to elect this chief law enforcement officer of the county, the sheriff.
And the sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer of the county.
That's correct. Yeah. And then the city's management, the city manager and the city councils approve, they hire a chief law enforcement officer for their jurisdiction, for the cities and municipalities, those towns. So the biggest difference is a sheriff is elected by the people. A sheriff also works, I have 92,000 people in the county. I have 92,000 bosses, which means I work for the people. Now, don't get me wrong, the chief of police, they work for the people too, but I'm answerable to the people, not to a board, not to a council, not to a commissioner or anything. I answer to the people. Okay, and so it's a very challenging job. It's a very rewarding job. And I've had the opportunity, I'm in my 26th year as sheriff in Rockingham County, and I'm honored to be able to serve. And again, great opportunity. So that's the basic difference is sheriff's elected, chief is appointed.
Now, there are 3 duties that are specific to a sheriff as well, that only a sheriff will perform. Obviously, that is civil process, maintaining a jail, and then courthouse security. Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the constitutional part of all of that?
Well, the sheriff is a constitutional officer. Our Constitution, 1776 North Carolina Constitution, we're established in the Constitution. So but actually we're the oldest law enforcement in our nation, because we came over we started in the Knights of the Knights of the Round Table time back in the olden days. And the Sheriff of Nottingham, well, we came from England from that concept, and that was brought over to America. And so the sheriff is one of the oldest law enforcement agency or law enforcement officials, in our nation. Right. And so we've been around a long time, but you do have some basic responsibilities, statutory responsibilities, and of that is, of course, we have to look after the jails. That's one of our high priority areas, is maintaining a safe and efficient jail, and then of course service of civil process, and then of course protecting our courts, okay, so they can operate safely. And those are the 3 primary responsibilities, but they are big responsibilities. And of course, some sheriff's officers in other states are not full service. We're full service, which means not only do we do those 3 responsibilities, but we also investigate crimes and respond to calls for service in our communities. And we have thousands of calls for service in our communities. Serving our citizens. We service about 55,000 population outside the municipalities. While they're looking after the towns and cities, we're looking after outside the towns and cities. And of course, one of my top priorities is protecting our schools. And so we don't have school resource officers at every school, but we're too shy.
We're working on it.
So when we are able to hire 2 more school resource officers for our elementary schools, then we'll have an officer in every one of the county schools, elementary, middle, and high school.
Now, for the podcast listener or viewer out there that just heard all of that and is thinking, wow, that sounds really cool, I wish I could be a part of that. We are hiring. Why don't you talk a little bit about the process?
If you're traveling through Reidsville, there's an electronic billboard near Elizabeth's Pizza, if you'll just look up, and it has advertisement information. But if you're interested in a career in law enforcement as a deputy or as a detention officer, all you have to do is come by the sheriff's office. You can go online, but you can also come by the sheriff's office and pick up an application and apply. But we are looking for detention officers. We are looking for deputies. Now, the good thing is once you've been vetted and you're hired, then you are, as a deputy or a future deputy, a cadet, then you're hired and then you are sent to RCC, Rockingham Community College, where they have the basic law enforcement training program, which they've run for many years. Now, they're getting ready to raise the hours from like 640 hours to over 800 hours. And so that's going to add a month or so to the class. So you're going to go from like 5 months to 7 months to go. Now, once you complete all the requirements of the basic law enforcement training, then you come to the agency and you run through about 12 weeks of field training, which basically we're training the cadet who's now trained and has passed all the state standards. Then they're orientated to what's going on in the agency.
Our policies and procedures and so on.
Now, on the other hand, if you're interested in working as a detention officer, that's about a 5 or 6 week training program, usually done at one of the local community colleges, GTCC, but mostly one of the local colleges, Alamance Tech. And so once you complete the 5 weeks there, then you are certified as a detention officer. Now, we hire detention officers, and while we're waiting for the person to be able to attend school, we do on-the-job training to train them on the duties and responsibilities of a detention officer. And so they get hands-on, then they go to school and they do their 6 weeks and they come back and they're certified. So both of the jobs are challenging. Both of the jobs pay in the $40,000 range. So it's not starting pay
with benefits.
Benefits. So it's not a bad pay position, but they are challenging. Working in a detention setting, in a detention setting where persons are incarcerated, or let me tell you, it's tough. It's dangerous, but it can be rewarding. And then working a career, and I've got detention officers that have worked as detention officers for years and love what they do. On the deputy side, we have different divisions and different opportunities as you grow as a uniform officer and have other opportunities to go in different divisions to work, detectives, detective narcotics, canine. We have SWAT teams. We have different opportunities, and school resource officers. Now, school resource officers, a lot of times those are experienced officers. Not everybody qualifies to be a school resource officer. We want to have the best of the best. We always want to have the best of the best, hire the best of the best, and have high standards. But we want to make sure that those officers or those deputies that are going into the schools match up, and they meet the standard we expect for school resource officers, and that the schools expect.
Because not only do they keep the school safe, but they're also a mentor to the children, to the students there as well.
A school resource, you said it, the school resource officer is a resource to the principal and to the teachers, also to the students. And their responsibilities are to, first is to be an enforcement process. They're an enforcement officer in the schools, protect the schools, but they're also there as a resource to help, again, students, principal, teachers, and also to teach law-related education. So it's a multifaceted job. I'm a former school resource officer, and I served for a year at Holmes Middle School. And I will tell you, one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had is working as a school resource officer. Sheriff has been very rewarding, but it was also a very rewarding job because you're working with the young kids, young minds, and you're trying to help them grow and be a mentor to those students as they're going through the school years.
Right. Okay, one more thing before we wrap the show up. I want to talk about another question that I've been asked here recently. It's kind of gotten some attention, and this program's been in effect for, I guess, a little over a year now, but the tablets that the inmates are using in the detention facility. Tell us about all the benefits that we've seen from that with regard to their education and such.
Well, over the past 25 years, I've looked at different programs. I've brought in instructors for GED, We saw what worked, what didn't work. We have a jail ministry where we have our pastors come in, our chaplains come in and work with our inmate population, trying to impart positive to our inmate population, because a lot of people that are in our jails, the citizens out here, not everybody is going to prison. They're in there serving a minimum amount of time, and then they get back out into the community. We want to make sure that we impart positive stuff to this person, because we want them to change their lives, and we don't want them to come back in our jail system, okay? We want to help them to be a positive person and have positive growth, and to stay out of our jail system and be a productive citizen in society. Now, on the tablet situation is Paytel is one of our companies that we have the tablet system through. But with the tablets, it's really kind of interesting. Is a person can order their canteen service that they want to order some snacks and stuff. They can order those on those tablets. They can use those for communications with family, but also it's an educational piece. Yes, it has opportunity to view approved videos, okay, the video movies.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, you have to complete tasks which are required, such as your educational tasks. And what happens is every month, every quarter, every year, I get a total breakdown of what our students, or excuse me, what our inmate population students are doing when they're taking the classes. So whatever self-help classes they're taking, I know how many are taking them, how many hours involved, and it gives me the breakdown. It gives it by month, quarter, and by annual. So by the annual. So it's very educational for me to see that, and then I can go to the commissioners or community groups and say, this is what my inmate population are taking. This is what they apparently think is important to help them in the self-help mode. And so I can see exactly what classes are taking and how many hours involved. And also we have the capability of doing your GED program right online using technology. I like to work hard, smarter, not harder. But with this program right here, it puts a lot of it on the inmate. But instead of a person, because a lot of times people think, well, people just sit around in jails smoking. There's no more smoking cigarettes either. But sitting around smoking cigarettes and playing checkers and stuff. No, a lot of our people that are serving time or the minimum amount of time in our jail system are actually using these tablets to educate themselves for self-improvement.
And that's the key right there, the main piece being an educational piece, and then of course the communications piece where they get to video chat with their loved one and so on and so forth for a visitation.
Well, also,
but it's not like they're just sitting around playing video games all day.
That's right. And you have to do the work to receive the reward.
Right.
Also, it generate revenue.
Right.
It generates revenue for the county that goes into the county fund. So again, the inmates benefit, the county, our taxpayers benefit. There's a benefit all the way around.
Exactly.
And I can't see having people just sit around and doing nothing and not being productive. And it is productive. And I can see the results because they're measured.
Well, anybody that wants to better themselves, I mean, you've got to give them credit for that and an opportunity to do so, I feel like.
Well,
I know you do as well.
Well, I know a few years ago we worked on a piece of federal legislation. It was the Second Chance Act to give non-serious felons an opportunity to have a second chance in society to get it in line. So persons that perform and are doing good have a second chance and opportunity. Even in our jail system, persons that came into our jail system, at one time they were doing it right. Somewhere they fell off and they started doing it wrong. So what we want to do is try to help persons in our jail system, again, to become productive citizens. Because if they're productive citizens, they're looking out for their families, they're paying their taxes, and they're doing good things. And we get a lot of people come through our jail system that they may have mental health issues, they may have addiction issues, they may have other issues. But we try to work with them when they're in our jail system, because just with addiction, we're looking at the medical assisted treatment in our jail system. We want to help people that have addiction get off the drugs, and we want to get them back to transition, back and stabilize their lives so they are becoming productive citizens.
The whole point is rehabilitation more so than punishment.
Well, it's a balance.
Yeah.
When you do wrong, there should be a punishment, and we should work toward rehabilitating. I think you can work on both of those.
Right.
Achieve
both at the same time.
Some people say that prison and jail are just punishment and something like this. If you don't, I can tell you this, if someone comes into the jail system, which is a little different than the prison system, it's shorter term, but if you don't do something positive to impart positive and emphasize positive to that person, they may go back to doing those negative activities, which land them back in jail again. We got to break the cycle.
Right.
And I've worked long enough that I've seen sometimes in the past, I know the grandparent, I know the dad, now I know the kids. So it just tells you that it's a cycle. We've got to break the cycle somewhere. Now, because I run a jail, that's an opportunity with an audience to work on that positive. Right. And so if we can impart something positive and change a person's thought process and change them for the better, then that's better for society.
Exactly.
Now there's some people that need to be locked away and go to prison and never see the light of day. I got that. But there's some people and a lot of people that cross boundaries that can be corrected and with time.
Right.
And so again, like I said, but I guarantee you that if you do nothing with someone's in your jail with that opportunity, don't expect anything positive.
Exactly. Well, Sheriff, I believe this is going to bring us to the end of the show for this month. Thank you for joining us, as always. And we'll see you guys next month for Sheriff Spotlight right here in Rockingham County.
Thank you. We appreciate everybody watching and listening.